Judas despaired and killed himself.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
I want to know your definition of holiness, because that transcends all of the, can you define holiness? And I'm hearing Orthodox, I'm hearing Catholic, I'm hearing a whole bunch of stuff, but
Sure.
I do not feel like I'm hearing about holiness at all.
Which is good, because theoretically that's our theme.
That is,
tonight.
yeah, that was
So good. Thank you, Irma.
Absolutely, bringing it back to, God is holiness, right? There is no one holy but God alone. So in the ancient Christian tradition, we were created, similar to the angels but differently, to commune in the very holiness of God, which we would call the virtues. And we would call the virtues the very life of God. So, holiness is a personal participation in the living, and this phraseology, although it's in the scriptures, right? Mm-hmm. So in the Eastern Church, we commonly say, in the inner divine energies, okay? And that sounds a little trippy to Westerners sometimes. But in the scriptures, the word energia is throughout it. Paul uses the word energia quite frequently.
Like energy. Okay.
Like energy. It's commonly translated as work, like God who works in you. But actually, in the Greek, you could easily translate that as God who is energizing within you, which is a lot more dynamic than just working, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's working as part of energy, right? So holiness ultimately is the fact and the virtueless. So we look at the virtues as literally the uncreated energies of God. Okay.
So holiness is interacting and
directly with
being
God.
Recipients of the energy of God, the holiness of God.
Yes, and but this is important because the nature of God is alone God, right? But he calls us to be like him, what? By grace, right? So grace is the living divine energy or radiance of God. And when we commune in that, we are transformed. Mm-hmm. And we become like him. Mm-hmm. Not by nature, but by grace. So what God is by nature, he gives to those who have faith in him to be like him by grace. Okay? So that's what we would say is the summation, if I could sum up, if that's even possible in a short talk. Holiness, we would say it's communing in the living, uncreated grace of God, which is God himself, being transformed by that grace and becoming like him by grace.
Foster delineates holiness from proper behavior.
Sure.
And he says that good behavior, or the kind of the standard view of holiness, is it's not doing bad things.
Sure.
And he says that holiness is actually more a state of who you are internally, and then it affects your actions.
Yes.
But the actions aren't the primary focus
correct,
of
yes.
holiness.
Yeah, so I'm interested in asking a question about the similarities across the churches. And so, the word of Christ. So I'm just wondering what verse resonates with you?
A lot of verses.
and you're asking in the Gospels, words of Jesus? Because you asked that same question last week to Matt. That's a good question, by the way.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Jesus verse, basically?
It's hard, I'll give you probably one of my favorite, if we could have favorites, right, of these, one of my favorite gospel passages, and that's John chapter 9. When the man born blind, encounters Christ. Because that's all of us, right? Where would we be without Christ? And he comes.
We are blind.
Yeah, we're the blind ones. And actually, it's interesting, in the ancient tradition, it says the man had no eyes. He literally was born without eyes. That's not explicitly stated in the scriptures, but that's one of the ancient traditions. So when Christ spits into the ground, what action does that remind you of?
Creation.
Mm-hmm. He takes the earth, and he spits into it, he molds that clay, pushes it into his eye sockets, and he says, go wash in where? The pool of I am sent.
Siloam.
Right? And then he comes back, seeing? So the ancient tradition is actually the Lord formed out of that mud, eyes again to see, right?
That makes sense because he didn't often use mud
Yes,
to heal
very,
people, right?
I think there's one
that's one
other
of the
reference.
oddities, yeah, of that.
So, and then of course then he's immediately subjected to tribulation,
Yeah.
right?
That's my favorite part of the story is when he tells
Yeah.
the religious leaders where to put it. Where to put
exactly.
It.
And
Oh, you guys want to become followers too?
Yeah,
And they're like,
Question.
thank you.
Where does the iconography, can you describe
iconography.
the iconography and what place it has in your worship?
Absolutely, sure. I'll do the best of that. So iconography is also very important for Orthodoxy. It's been there from the beginning. If you get on Uncle Google and you look up catacomb churches, they were beautified, right?
I don't know what that means. They were beautified.
They were painted with images
With
of
icons.
Christ.
Okay.
You know.
Can you explain what an icon is?
Sure, absolutely. So so that just establishes it's ancient. It goes back to the beginning. An icon, ultimately for us, does so. We would say this is getting into your incarnational sacramental, which would have been real fun to do too. But we would say everything in the church is a sacrament, right? But the Greek word for sacrament is mysterion, right? What is Paul says the mystery of the faith? That's the Greek word for sacrament, right? So we would say ultimately the faith is the mystery, right? And everything that we have that we say, you know, we would say Holy Communion is a sacrament. There's a sacramental priesthood. There's baptism is a sacrament. On and on. We're not limited to 7.
Oh, you're not?
So icons
Is there a
become
limited? Is there a
sacramented.
limited number, or is it
No.
unlimited?
We can speak of 7 sacraments, sure.
But there's more than that.
Because icons for us would become sacramental or part of the mystery. Because we would say they are reorienting. Part of the job of the Christian is to do what Adam was commanded in the beginning, and that is to take all of God's creation to act as high priest about that, and to reorient all of the material order back to its proper point in order, because it's disordered, right, and fractured now. And because of that, there's chaos in the world. And so the job of a Christian in the high priestly order is to reorder all of the material creation back to its intended purpose. That's what Adam was supposed to do. And so iconography has that purpose in it. It speaks to the regeneration of all of creation and salvation. And it comes back into, because again, we have the affirm belief in the great cloud of witnesses or the saints.
All right. So an icon is a painting,
It is a painting, yes.
and you
if
look
you're not-
at it, and you're looking into heaven.
We would, yes, frequently they'll say windows of heaven. Very, yes.
Why don't you bring that up? So that's a very popular icon
Very popular.
Of the Trinity.
Yes.
What's that one called?
That is called this one comes from the revelation of Moses, of
Did you run to your office to
Abraham.
grab these?
Abraham, when the 3 angels
Holding it up
came
for the
to
camera,
him,
too.
and so we use that because to depict the Holy Trinity. And then this other one, of course, is the Lord with Saint Peter, and that looks like an old, probably Egyptian or Syriac style icon. So
Okay, I thought one of these. I was thinking this was the Trinity.
that is the Trinity.
Okay.
But we use it because technically, if you're getting technical, we don't do an image of the Father because he did not reveal himself in image. So we don't.
Well, he did. The ultimate icon
Yes,
is
in Christ.
Jesus.
So Christ becomes true.
Very sorry. The priest needs to handle the icons.
There we go.
Not the,
Okay, we have one more.
So anyway, yeah, we could go on, but yeah, one more question.
I kind of have 2, but I was curious, like, what your thoughts were about how, like, Seraphim Rose smelled like roses when he died.
Oh yeah, hey, you
And-
know about that? That's pretty
Because
good.
I had the book, like, I read it a long time ago, but, and I don't remember a lot of it, but I was just fascinated by that. And then also, my other question was, how do you explain, like, praying for your loved ones who have already passed? Like, I kind of understand
Sure.
it, but I'd like to hear it from a priest's point of view.
Yeah, well, the Father Seraphim Rose, we would just say it's a indication of holiness.
Well, what is that? What's the Father Seraphim Rose?
Oh, okay, yeah. So Father Seraphim Rose was a fellow who lived here in the States. He passed away in 1983. He's considered to be a holy man, truly. And when he passed away, which is common, we would say with holy, it's not absolutely necessary. And again, these things are for us, right? And so there's a lot of times there's a sweet fragrance, right? I mean, I've been to places, not exactly Father Seraphim Rose, but I've had these experiences around what we have relics, right, which is very foreign to other parts of Christian believers, but they're fragrant, right? Then no one's putting a fragrance on them; they're just exuding a fragrance.
Right. So how many in the room have smelt a fragrance connected to the move of the Holy Spirit?
There we go.
Okay, so probably close to half the people in the room. And so what you're saying is a particular guy who was
Or woman, yes.
Oh yeah, but in this case, Father Seraphim Rose.
Yes.
He
and not just him, but numerous other times.
Okay, so if non-Orthodox people smell the fragrance of roses when God's up to stuff,
Sure.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Come on!
I can't speak on behalf of God on those terms.
But you're saying that this particular guy, stuff connected to him, people
Yes.
often smell roses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then what was the second? Oh, praying for the departed. Sure. That's. Yeah. So we would say this. Why do we pray for the departed, right? So we do have this because we have this understanding in the church. That's not my understanding, but that nothing is over until the last judgment. Nothing is over until the last judgment.
So a person can die, and they're still in play because you earlier said until you have breath.
Yeah, we don't know. We would say there's a mystery. We're getting into something that is a mystery to us, and it's called the mystery of death.
And there's
right?
not a lot of scriptural stuff.
There's
that
not a
talks
lot of
about
scriptural stuff.
What happens to us after we die before the second coming.
A few, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
So we would say so as long as we know this, that's not.